You know how they say you never truly know someone until you see them in their natural environment? Well, my wife's office Christmas party was about to become a masterclass in exactly that. I should have seen the signs earlier. The way she'd been making little comments about our budget lately, how she'd roll her eyes when I mentioned saving for vacation instead of buying that expensive furniture she wanted. But nothing prepared me for what happened that December evening. The party was at some upscale downtown hotel. I wore my best suit, the navy one she'd picked out for me last year when she still pretended to care about my opinion. She looked stunning in her black dress, the one that cost more than my monthly car payment. As we walked in, she immediately started scanning the room like a hawk looking for prey. "There's Mr. Garrison from accounting," she whispered, adjusting her hair. "He just bought that new Tesla. And over there is Rachel Sterling from marketing. Did you see her vacation photos from Europe?" I should have turned around right then. We grabbed drinks and made small talk with her colleagues. Everything seemed normal until she got into a conversation with 3 women from her department. I was standing nearby, nursing my beer and half listening to their chatter about quarterly reports and office gossip. That's when I heard it. "Honestly, girls, I love him, but let's be practical here," my wife said, gesturing in my direction without even looking at me. "He works maintenance at the community college. Sweet guy, but he'll never be able to provide what I deserve. I mean, look at Jennifer's husband. He's pulling 6 figures in tech. That's the kind of security a woman needs." The 3 women glanced at me with what I can only describe as pity. One of them, a blonde named Ashley Parker, nodded sympathetically. "Have you thought about maybe encouraging him to go back to school or switch careers?" My wife laughed, actually laughed. "At 32? Please. He's comfortable where he is. Doesn't have the ambition to reach higher. I'm basically carrying this household financially and emotionally." I felt something shift inside me. Not heartbreak, not anger. Clarity. I walked over to their little circle, set my beer down on the nearby table, and smiled. "Excuse me, ladies. I couldn't help but overhear." My wife's face went pale. "Honey, we were just—" No, please continue," I said, keeping my voice calm and pleasant. "You were saying I'll never be able to provide what you deserve. You know what? You're absolutely right." The 3 women looked uncomfortable, sensing the tension. But I wasn't done. "In fact, you've opened my eyes to something important tonight. You're absolutely correct that you deserve better financial security." I looked directly at my wife. "So here's what we're going to do. Starting tomorrow, you can provide exactly what you deserve. For yourself." She tried to grab my arm. "What are you talking about? You're embarrassing me." "Embarrassing you?" I chuckled, loud enough for nearby conversations to pause. "Sweetheart, I work 45 hours a week maintaining facilities that educate thousands of students. I come home to a clean house, cook dinner 3 nights a week, and haven't asked you to contribute a single dollar to our household expenses in 2 years while you save up for your designer handbags." The circle around us had grown. Other party guests were pretending not to listen while obviously hanging on every word. "But you're right about one thing," I continued, my voice still eerily calm. "You do deserve someone who can give you everything you want. Someone ambitious enough to reach higher. Someone who appreciates what they have before they lose it." I pulled out my wallet, took out a 20, and handed it to the bartender. "That should cover my drinks. Ladies, enjoy your evening." I looked at my wife one last time. Her face had gone from pale to red, her mouth opening and closing like she couldn't decide what to say. "Oh, and honey, since you're so concerned about providing for yourself, you can figure out your own ride home tonight. I'm sure one of these successful colleagues of yours wouldn't mind helping out." I walked toward the exit, hearing whispered conversations exploding behind me. My phone started buzzing before I even reached my car, but I turned it off. The drive home was peaceful. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe properly. By the time I pulled into our driveway, I had already decided what came next. She wanted someone who could provide what she deserved. Time to let her find out exactly what that looked like. I slept better that night than I had in months. When I woke up Saturday morning, she still wasn't home. Part of me wondered if she'd actually found one of those successful colleagues to comfort her. But honestly, I didn't care anymore. Around 10 a.m., I heard her key in the lock. She came in quietly, probably expecting to find me pacing around worried sick. Instead, she found me at the kitchen table reading the newspaper with my coffee, completely relaxed. "We need to talk," she said, still wearing that black dress from last night. Her makeup was smudged and her hair looked like she'd slept in someone's car. Good morning to you too. I replied without looking up from the sports section. Coffee's fresh if you want some. She slammed her purse down on the counter. Don't act like nothing happened. You humiliated me in front of my entire department. I folded the paper and looked at her calmly. I humiliated you? That's interesting. Walk me through exactly how I humiliated you. You made a scene. Everyone was staring. Everyone was staring because you spent 10 minutes telling your colleagues what a financial disappointment your husband is. I just agreed with you. I took another sip of coffee. So what's the problem? She started pacing around the kitchen like a caged animal. It wasn't like that, and you know it. I was just venting with the girls. Women do that. It doesn't mean anything. Venting. I repeated the word slowly. So when you told them I'll never be able to provide what you deserve, that was just venting? Yes. God, you're being so dramatic about this. I stood up and walked to the kitchen counter, leaning against it. Let me ask you something. If one of my buddies at work asked me about our marriage, and I told them you're not pretty enough for me and that I deserve someone more attractive, would that just be venting? Her face flushed red. That's completely different. How? Because that would be about something I can't change. I actually laughed. So my career is something I can change, but you think I should change it to meet your standards. Got it. Very supportive wife behavior. She tried a different approach, her voice getting softer. Baby, I didn't mean it the way it sounded. I love you exactly as you are. I was just trying to fit in with the other wives. You know how they are. No, I don't know how they are. Explain it to me. She fumbled for words. They talk about their husbands' jobs and incomes. I felt left out. So you threw me under the bus to fit in with people you see 8 hours a day. I nodded slowly. That makes perfect sense. Don't be sarcastic. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm being accurate. I walked back to the table and sat down. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to go upstairs, shower, and think about whether you actually want to be married to someone you're embarrassed of. I'm not embarrassed of you. Your actions last night say otherwise. I picked up my newspaper again. Take your time thinking about it. But understand this clearly. I'm not changing careers to impress your colleagues. I'm not apologizing for what I said last night. And I'm definitely not going to pretend this conversation never happened. She stared at me for a long moment, probably waiting for me to crack and start apologizing like I usually did after our arguments. When I just continued reading, she huffed and stomped toward the stairs. This is ridiculous. You're acting like a child, she called over her shoulder. Actually, I'm acting like a man who knows his worth, I called back. Might want to look that up in the dictionary while you're upstairs. I heard her bedroom door slam and smiled. For the first time in our 3-year marriage, I wasn't chasing after her trying to fix things. It felt liberating. Around noon, she came back downstairs wearing jeans and a sweater, her hair still damp from the shower. She tried to act like everything was normal, making herself a sandwich and asking if I wanted lunch. I'm fine. Thanks, I said, not looking up from my laptop where I was researching some maintenance procedures for work. What are you doing? Work stuff. Learning new techniques for HVAC system optimization. You know, trying to be better at that job I apparently need to be embarrassed about. She set her sandwich down harder than necessary. Okay, I get it. You're mad. But can we please move past this? It was one stupid comment. I closed the laptop and looked at her directly. It wasn't one comment. It was your honest opinion about our marriage said out loud to people who barely know me. The only reason you're sorry is because you got caught. That's not true. Prove it. How? I stood up and walked toward the living room. Figure it out. But until you do, I'll be sleeping in the guest room. You're sleeping in the guest room? Over this. I turned back to her. Over this. No. Over the fact that my wife thinks so little of me that she uses me as her personal punchline at office parties? Yeah, that's guest room worthy. Her mouth fell open like she couldn't believe I was actually following through. This is insane. You're throwing away our marriage over one night. I paused at the bottom of the stairs. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm just refusing to share a bed with someone who doesn't respect me enough to keep our private business private. As I headed upstairs to move some clothes to the guest room, I heard her call after me. Fine, but you're going to realize how stupid you're being when you calm down. I smiled to myself. She still thought this was about anger. She had no idea that for the first time in years, I was thinking completely clearly. By Monday morning, the tension in the house was thick enough to cut with a knife. She'd spent Sunday trying different approaches, from fake cheerfulness to guilt trips about how I was punishing her for being honest. None of it worked because I wasn't playing the game anymore. I went to work like normal, fixed a broken boiler in the science building, updated some electrical panels, and had lunch with my supervisor, Blake Morrison. He's a good guy who's been managing facilities for 15 years. You seem different today, Blake said as we sat in the break room. More relaxed or something. Just had some clarity about a few things over the weekend, I told him. Good for you. Sometimes we need those moments to reset. He had no idea how right he was. When I got home that evening, she was in the kitchen making dinner. Something elaborate with wine sauce that she only made when she was trying to manipulate me into forgiving her. Smells good, I said, hanging up my work jacket. It's your favorite, she said with forced brightness. Thought we could have a nice dinner and talk. Sure, I'll go clean up. When I came back downstairs, she'd set the dining room table with our good plates and lit candles. She was really pulling out all the stops. This looks nice, I said, sitting down. She beamed like she'd already won. I thought we could put this whole silly fight behind us and get back to normal. What's normal? I asked, cutting into the chicken. You know us, the way we were before Friday night. I chewed thoughtfully. You mean where you disrespect me and I pretend not to notice? Her smile faltered. I don't disrespect you. Friday night says otherwise. God, are we going to talk about Friday night forever? Until you understand why it was a problem, yeah, probably. She put down her fork and leaned forward. Okay, fine. I'm sorry I said those things. I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. Can we please move on now? What specifically are you sorry for? She blinked. What do you mean? I mean, what specifically did you do wrong? Walk me through it. She looked frustrated. I said things about your job that I shouldn't have said. What things? That you couldn't provide what I deserve. And why was that wrong? She was getting angry now. Because it hurt your feelings. I nodded slowly. So you think the problem was that it hurt my feelings, not that what you said was disrespectful and untrue. It wasn't untrue. The words hung in the air like smoke. I set down my fork and looked at her. Excuse me. She realized what she'd just said and tried to backtrack. I mean, it wasn't meant to be hurtful, but you think it's accurate that I can't provide what you deserve. She was digging herself deeper, and she knew it. That's not what I meant. What did you mean? I meant that maybe we could both aim higher financially. We, both, I repeated slowly. Interesting choice of words considering you've contributed exactly $0 to our household budget in the past 18 months. I'm saving for things we need. Like what? Like the new furniture for the living room. Like a better car. Like a vacation somewhere decent instead of camping. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. So you're saving your money for things you want, while I pay for everything we actually need. And then you complain to your coworkers that I can't provide enough. She was quiet for a moment. Then her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it and quickly looked away, but not before I saw her face change. Aren't you going to check that? It's just work stuff. On a Monday at 7 p.m.? Some of us have demanding careers, she snapped, then immediately looked like she regretted it. I stood up. You know what? You're right. Some people do have demanding careers. And some people respect their spouses enough not to trash talk them to coworkers. I headed toward the living room, but something made me turn back. Oh, and thanks for dinner. It's delicious. Really shows what you can accomplish when you put effort into something. The sarcasm wasn't lost on her. Later that night, I was in the guest room reading when I heard her on the phone. She was trying to keep her voice down, but our house isn't that big. I know. He's being completely unreasonable. No, he moved into the guest room. I don't know what his problem is. I closed my book and listened more carefully. He made this huge scene at the party, and now he's acting like I'm the villain. Rachel, he literally embarrassed me in front of everyone. What do you mean, what did I say? There was a long pause. I was just being honest about our financial situation. No, I didn't say anything that wasn't true. Another pause. Well, yeah, but that's different. Brad actually has ambition. He's going places. I felt my jaw clench. Brad. That would be Brad Thornton from her marketing department. The one with the Tesla. I'm not saying I would do anything, but at least he appreciates a woman who has goals. That was enough. I got up and walked to our bedroom door, which was slightly open. She was sitting on the bed with her back to me. Look, I have to go, she said quickly. I'll call you tomorrow. She hung up and turned around, jumping when she saw me in the doorway. How long have you been standing there? Long enough, I said calmly. Brad Thornton, marketing department, Tesla owner. That Brad. Her face went white. It's not what you think. What do I think? That there's something going on between us. Is there? No. God, no. I was just talking to Rachel about work stuff. Work stuff? Right. I leaned against the doorframe. And the part about him appreciating women with goals. I was just making a comparison. To what? She couldn't answer that without digging herself deeper, so she didn't. I nodded slowly. You know what? This has been educational. Thanks for the honesty. Where are you going? Back to the guest room. To think about some things. What things? I looked at her sitting there on our bed, phone still in her hand, caught red-handed talking about another man while complaining about her husband. Like whether I'm married to someone who wants to be married to me. I closed the door behind me and went back to my room, but I didn't go to sleep. Instead, I sat there thinking about everything I'd heard and seen over the past few days. By morning, I'd made some decisions. Tuesday morning, I woke up early and made coffee. She came downstairs around 7, moving carefully like she was walking through a minefield. Morning, she said cautiously. Morning, coffee's fresh. She poured herself a cup and sat across from me at the kitchen table. We sat in silence for a few minutes before she finally spoke. About last night, what you heard. What about it? I was just venting to Rachel. It didn't mean anything. I set down my mug and looked at her directly. You know, I've been thinking about that word. Venting. You use it a lot to excuse things you say about me. I don't excuse anything. Friday night was venting. Last night was venting. When exactly do you actually speak positively about your husband? She shifted uncomfortably. I say positive things about you all the time. To who? To lots of people. Name one. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Here's the thing, I continued. I've been married to you for 3 years. In that time, I've never once heard you defend me to anyone. Not your family, not your friends, not your coworkers. But I've heard you complain about me plenty. That's not fair. What's not fair about it? You're making it sound worse than it is. I leaned back in my chair. Am I? Because from where I'm sitting, it sounds like you're embarrassed to be married to me. You think I don't make enough money. You think I lack ambition, and you're attracted to other men who you think are better providers. I never said I was attracted to Brad. You said he appreciates women with goals. You said he has ambition. You said he's going places. What exactly am I supposed to think? She was quiet for a long moment. Then she tried a different approach. Look, maybe I haven't been the most supportive wife lately. But marriage is work, right? We both need to try harder. What do you think I need to try harder at? Well, maybe you could look into some certification programs. Or consider management training. There are opportunities for advancement in your field. I stared at her. So your solution to this problem is for me to change careers to make you happier. Not change careers. Just advance. To impress your coworkers. To provide better for our future. Our future. I stood up and walked to the window. Tell me about our future. What does it look like? What do you mean? I mean, when you picture our life 5 years from now, what do you see? She brightened, thinking this was safe territory. Well, hopefully we'll have bought a house. A nice one, maybe in Riverside Heights. And I'd like to start thinking about kids eventually. And we could take actual vacations, not just weekend camping trips. And in this future, what's my role? What do you mean? Am I still the guy who embarrasses you at parties? Am I still the guy you complain about to your friends? Or do you magically start respecting me once I make more money? She looked confused. I do respect you. No, you don't. I turned back to face her. And you know what? I don't think more money would change that. I think you'd just find new things to be disappointed about. That's not true. Prove it. How? I walked back to the table and sat down. Here's how. I'm going to give you a choice. A very simple choice. She leaned forward, looking nervous. Option 1. You figure out how to be proud of the man you married. You stop complaining about me to other people. You stop comparing me to other men. You start acting like you actually want to be married to me instead of settling for me until something better comes along. And option 2. I pulled off my wedding ring and set it on the table between us. Option 2. We end this now, cleanly, before we waste any more of each other's time. She stared at the ring like it was a snake. You're not serious. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. You're threatening divorce over a few comments? I'm offering divorce as an alternative to staying married to someone who doesn't respect me. She laughed, but it sounded forced. This is ridiculous. You can't just give me an ultimatum. I'm not giving you an ultimatum. I'm giving you a choice. There's a difference. What's the difference? An ultimatum is a threat. A choice is an opportunity. She picked up my ring and tried to hand it back to me. Put this back on. You're being dramatic. I didn't take it. What's dramatic about wanting to be married to someone who actually likes me? I do like you. Your actions suggest otherwise. Fine. She slammed the ring down on the table. Maybe I do think you could do better career-wise. Maybe I do get frustrated that we can't afford the things I want. Is that such a crime? No. But staying married to someone you think is beneath you is. She stared at me for a long moment. You're actually serious about this. Dead serious. And if I choose option one, if I try to be more supportive, then we work on rebuilding what we had before you decided I wasn't good enough. And if I choose option two, then we file papers and split everything 50-50. Clean break. No drama. She was quiet for several minutes, turning the ring over in her hands. How long do I have to decide? As long as you need. But understand this. I'm not going back to pretending everything is fine. I'm not going back to our bedroom until you decide you actually want me there. And I'm not going to any more work functions where you use me as your personal punching bag. She looked up at me with something that might have been panic in her eyes. You're really willing to throw away 3 years of marriage. I stood up and grabbed my work jacket. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm refusing to stay in a marriage where I'm not wanted. I never said you weren't wanted. You didn't have to. I headed toward the garage, leaving her sitting at the table with my wedding ring in her hand. As I backed out of the driveway, I could see her through the kitchen window, staring down at that ring like it held the answer to a question she'd never thought to ask. The question was simple. Did she actually want to be married to me, or just married in general? By the time I got home that evening, I had a feeling I was about to find out. When I got home Wednesday evening, I knew something had changed. She was waiting for me in the living room, dressed up like she was going somewhere important. Her makeup was perfect, her hair styled, and she was wearing the blue dress I'd complimented her on when we were dating. We need to talk, she said, standing up as I walked in. Okay, I'm listening. I've been thinking about what you said yesterday, about the choice. I hung up my jacket and sat down across from her. And I think you're being unfair. Marriage isn't perfect. People say things they don't mean when they're frustrated. That doesn't mean we throw everything away. What things did you say that you didn't mean? She faltered for a second. About your job. About providing. I was just venting. Right. I leaned back. So you didn't mean any of it. Not the way it sounded. How did you mean it? She was getting frustrated again. Does it matter? I'm apologizing. For what specifically? For hurting your feelings. I stood up. That's not an apology. That's you being sorry I got upset, not sorry for what you did. What's the difference? The difference is that you still think what you said was justified. You just wish I hadn't overheard it. She shot up from the couch. Fine. You want me to say I was wrong? I was wrong. Happy now. What were you wrong about? About saying those things about your job. And talking to Rachel about our marriage. And she threw her hands up. I don't know what else you want me to say. I want you to understand why it was wrong. Not just admit that it was. It was wrong because it upset you. I walked toward the kitchen, still not getting it. Then explain it to me. I turned back. It was wrong because you're supposed to be my partner. Partners don't tear each other down to impress other people. Partners don't compare each other to coworkers. Partners definitely don't discuss being attracted to other men. I never said I was attracted to Brad. You said he appreciates women with goals. You said he has ambition. You said he's going places. In the context of complaining about your husband, what exactly should I think that means? She was quiet for a moment. Then she tried a different approach. Look, maybe I made some mistakes. But you're not perfect either. You shut down when we have problems instead of talking about them. You're stubborn. You hold grudges. Give me an example of when I held a grudge. Like now, you're holding a grudge about Friday night. This isn't a grudge. This is me refusing to pretend everything is fine when it's not. What's not fine? I stared at her. You genuinely don't see it, do you? See what? That you don't respect me. That you're embarrassed to be married to me. That you wish you'd married someone else. That's not true. Then why do you keep comparing me to other men? I don't. Brad Thornton. That was one conversation. With Rachel. About how he appreciates women with goals while your husband apparently doesn't. She was getting desperate now. You're twisting everything I said. Am I? Because it sounded pretty clear to me. She walked over to me, trying to take my hands. Baby, please. We can work through this. I'll be more careful about what I say. I'll be more supportive. I didn't pull away, but I didn't respond to her touch either. Why? Why what? Why do you want to work through this? What are you getting out of this marriage that you can't get somewhere else? The question clearly caught her off guard. I love you. Do you? Or do you love the idea of being married? That's a terrible thing to ask. It's an honest question. What do you love about me specifically? She started listing generic things. You're kind. You're reliable. You take care of me. So I'm like a good employee. That's not what I meant. What did you mean? She was struggling now. You're my husband. We have a life together. A life you're constantly complaining about. I don't constantly complain. Friday night at the party. Monday night on the phone with Rachel. Yesterday morning when you suggested I change careers. Should I continue? Okay, maybe I've been negative lately. But that doesn't mean I don't love you. I walked to the front window and looked out at our street. Normal houses with normal families having normal problems. Problems that probably didn't include wives publicly humiliating their husbands. You know what I realized? I said without turning around. What? I spent 3 years trying to make you happy, and you spent 3 years wishing I was someone else. That's not true. I turned back to face her. Then prove it. How? Call Rachel right now. Tell her you were wrong about everything you said about me. Tell her you're proud to be married to me. Her face went pale. Why would I do that? Because that's what someone who respects their husband would do. I'm not calling Rachel. Why not? Because it's embarrassing. More embarrassing than what you already told her. She couldn't answer that. I walked past her toward the stairs. I'm going to pack some clothes. Pack clothes for what? I'm going to stay at my brother's place for a few days. Give you some space to think about what you actually want. You're leaving? I'm giving you time to decide if you want to be married to me or just married in general. She followed me upstairs. This is insane. You can't just leave. Watch me. As I pulled out a small suitcase, she sat on the guest room bed looking stunned. What am I supposed to tell people? Tell them whatever you want. You're good at that. How long are you going to stay at Trevor's? Until you figure out your answer. What if I already know my answer? I stopped packing and looked at her. What is it? She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said the thing that told me everything I needed to know. I think you're being unreasonable. Marriage takes compromise. I shouldn't have to choose between having opinions and keeping my husband happy. I zipped up the suitcase. There's your answer. What do you mean? You just chose. I grabbed my toiletries from the bathroom and headed downstairs. She followed me, getting more frantic. You can't just leave over this. We have a mortgage. We have responsibilities. We have a lease, I corrected. And you can handle the responsibilities. You're the one with goals and ambition, remember? I opened the front door and turned back to her one last time. My number hasn't changed. When you decide what you actually want, call me. And if I don't call, then I guess we'll know where we stand. I walked out to my truck, put my suitcase in the back, and drove away without looking back. It was 8:47 p.m. on a Wednesday. I had no idea that in less than 5 hours, everything would change again. My brother Trevor lived 20 minutes across town. When I showed up at his door with a suitcase, he took one look at me and stepped aside. Rough night. Rough 3 years, I said, setting my bag down in his living room. Want to talk about it? Not yet. He grabbed 2 beers from the fridge, and we sat on his couch watching late-night TV. Trevor's divorced, went through his own mess 2 years ago, so he knew when to talk and when to just be present. Around midnight, I finally told him everything. The party, the phone call, the ultimatum, all of it. So you actually walked out, he said when I finished. Yep. How do you feel? Honestly, relieved. Good. That's good. We talked for another hour before I headed to his guest room. I was exhausted but couldn't sleep, so I lay there staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. At 1:30 a.m., my phone rang. She was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. Please come home, she choked out between tears. Please. I can't do this. I was wrong about everything. What changed? I asked, keeping my voice steady. I called Rachel after you left. I told her what you said about calling her. And she said I was crazy to complain about you. She said Brad Thornton is getting divorced because he cheated on his wife with someone from accounting. She said I was throwing away a good man for fantasy. I sat up in bed. Go on. She made me realize how stupid I've been. How I was comparing our genuine marriage to other people's fake performances. Brad's not ambitious, he's reckless. His wife found out about the affair at the Christmas party. The same party where you embarrassed me. Yes. She was crying harder now. Everyone was talking about it after you left. About how I treated you. Ashley Parker said she wished her husband would stand up for himself like that. Is that why you're calling? Because other people made you realize you were wrong? No. I'm calling because I realized I was about to lose the best thing in my life over my own insecurities. What insecurities? About not being successful enough myself. About not contributing enough. I was projecting my own failures onto you. For the first time in days, she was making sense. I don't want a divorce, she continued. I want to be married to you. Not because you're safe or reliable, but because you're the only man I know who has enough self-respect to walk away when someone treats him badly. Even when that someone is his wife. Especially then. I was quiet for a moment, processing. If you come home, she said carefully, it won't be the same as before. I understand that. But I want to try to be the wife you deserve instead of trying to make you into someone else. What does that look like? It looks like me getting a second job to contribute financially instead of complaining about what you provide. It looks like me defending you to other people instead of seeking their validation. It looks like me being proud of who I married instead of wishing I'd married someone else. I looked at the clock. 1:35 a.m. I'll be home in 30 minutes. Thank you, she whispered. When I got home, she was sitting on the front steps in her robe, waiting. She stood up as I got out of the truck. I put your ring back on the nightstand, she said quietly. Good place for it. Are we going to be okay? I looked at her standing there. No makeup, hair messy, eyes red from crying. For the first time in months, she looked like the woman I'd married. That depends on whether you meant what you just said, or whether this is just panic about being alone. I meant every word. Then yeah, we're going to be okay. She started to cry again, but this time it was relief, not desperation. 6 months later, she got promoted at work and started contributing to our household expenses. She never complained about my job again, and actually started bragging to her coworkers about how good I am at what I do. Last month, we bought a house, not in Riverside Heights, but in a neighborhood we both love. She paid half the down payment. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your marriage is refuse to accept anything less than you deserve. Not because you're demanding, but because you know your worth. And sometimes, walking away is what teaches someone else to recognize it too.